Story 1. The Operator's Silent Screen. The train that shouldn't exist just pulled into a station we demolished in 1987. I've been a transit control operator for the Metropolitan Underground for 11 years. My shift runs from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., monitoring the blue and orange lines from Console 4 in the Central Operations Hub. The work is methodical, tracking train positions via GPS transponders, monitoring platform cameras, coordinating with dispatch, logging anomalies. By 2 a.m., most nights blur into the rhythm of blinking cursors and the low hum of ventilation ducts. On September 14th, I logged in at 10:58 p.m. The system showed 12 active trains across both lines. Standard Thursday traffic. I ran the nightly diagnostics. Signal integrity, camera feeds, emergency comm channels, everything nominal. At 11:34 p.m., I cleared train 407 through junction B12 and noted a minor delay on train 521 due to passenger assistance at Whitmore Station. At 1:47 a.m., a 13th icon appeared on my primary monitor. It materialized between sectors 8 and 9 on the orange line. A white diamond symbol identical to the others except for one detail. No train ID. The tooltip displayed only unknown. I assumed it was a GPS glitch, happens occasionally when a transponder resets. I radioed dispatch. Control to dispatch, showing unregistered contact on orange line sector 8. Can you confirm? Static. Then, negative control, all orange line units accounted for. Probably a ghost signal. Log it and monitor. I logged it. 1:47 a.m. Unidentified contact, orange line, sector 8. No physical confirmation. The icon moved. Slowly, steadily. It progressed along the track toward Devon Street Station, a station we decommissioned in 1987. The line still passes through the platform, but the entrances are sealed, the lights disconnected. Trains don't stop there. Yet the icon paused precisely where the platform would be, held for 90 seconds, then continued. I cycled through the tunnel cameras. Sector 8's feed showed an empty track, rails gleaming under maintenance lighting. No train. I checked Sector 9. Nothing. The icon kept moving. At 2:03 a.m. it reached the junction where the orange line splits toward the depot. Instead of following either route, the icon turned onto a tertiary track, a spur line abandoned in the 70s, used briefly for freight before the system went passenger only. According to the schematics, that tunnel dead ends 300 yards in. The icon didn't stop. It traced a loop I didn't recognize, curving beneath what the map labeled as restricted zone, no infrastructure. I pulled up the historical track database. The spur line was officially disconnected in 1974. No rails, no power, no signals, just empty concrete. Control to dispatch. That unregistered contact is moving through decommissioned infrastructure, requesting supervisor review. Copy control, supervisors en route, continue monitoring. The icon completed its loop and returned to the main orange line, resuming normal traffic flow. At 2:19 a.m., it stopped again, this time at Claremont Station, a functioning stop. I focused camera 7 on the platform. Empty, no train. Passengers waited on the benches, oblivious. But on my screen, the icon sat there for exactly 90 seconds, as if loading and unloading. Then it moved on. My supervisor, Dale Hutchinson, arrived at 2:31 a.m. I showed him the log. He frowned, checked the camera feeds himself, radioed dispatch for a physical roll call, every train accounted for, every driver responsive. Probably a software bug, he said. I'll submit a ticket to IT. Keep logging it. He left. The icon kept moving. Over the next 4 hours, it completed the same route 3 more times, emerging at Sector 8, pausing at the decommissioned Devon Street, looping through the non-existent spur, stopping at active stations where no train appeared. At 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes before my shift ended, the icon vanished, just blinked out between sectors 11 and 12. I submitted my report. Persistent unregistered contact orange line, no physical confirmation, suspected system error. The next night it appeared again. Same time, same route. I started documenting it in detail. The icon always materialized at 1:47 a.m. It always paused at Devon Street for 90 seconds. It always traced that impossible loop. And every time the cameras showed nothing. On the third night, I noticed something else. When the icon stopped at Claremont Station, I zoomed camera 7 to maximum magnification. The platform was empty, yes, but on the far edge of the frame, barely visible, was a shadow, a distortion, like heat shimmer but cold. It moved when the icon moved. I didn't report that. On the fifth night, I tried something. When the icon appeared, I switched to thermal imaging. Sector 8's thermal feed showed the expected ambient temperature gradient. Warmer rails, cooler air. Then, as the icon passed through the frame, the temperature dropped. The entire tunnel section registered 4 degrees colder for exactly the time it took the icon to traverse it. I checked the audio logs from the tunnel's maintenance mic. Faint, distant, a sound, not wind, not machinery. A rhythmic vibration like wheels on rails. On the 7th night, the icon stopped at a station where I was scheduled to coordinate a platform inspection. I watched it sit there 90 seconds while the inspection crew stood 10 feet from where it should have been. I radioed the crew chief. "Do you see anything unusual?" "Negative, control. Platform's clear." "Any sounds? Vibrations?" A pause. "Now that you mention it, there's a weird hum. Thought it was the ventilation." I didn't ask further. 2 weeks in, I reviewed the historical employee database. In 1986, an operator named Raymond Finch logged repeated complaints about an unscheduled train on the Orange Line. His reports described the same route, the same stops. His final entry, dated November 3, 1986, read, "The train is waiting. I think it's waiting for me." Raymond Finch never clocked out after that shift. His personnel file lists him as resigned, no notice. Last night I was monitoring the icon's route when my console flickered. For just a moment, the camera feed from Devon Street Station, the sealed, decommissioned platform, went live. The lights were on. The old tile gleamed, and on the platform, standing perfectly still in a faded transit uniform, was a man. He stared directly at the camera, directly at me. Then the feed cut back to darkness. This morning, I checked my reflection in the break room mirror. I looked tired, older. My uniform seemed faded. Tonight, the icon appeared at 1:47 a.m., exactly as expected, but this time, when I opened the tracking interface, my console asked for biometric confirmation. It already had my fingerprint stored. From 1986, the icon is approaching Devon Street now. The platform lights are on in my feed. I think it's time to see where it's been going all these years. Some loops don't close until you step on board. Story 2, Log 7B, The Night Dispatch. The dead engineer's voice came through the radio reporting a repair I never authorized, using my clearance code. I've been a dispatch supervisor for the Central Metro Authority for 9 years. My role involves coordinating maintenance crews, authorizing track access, and archiving radio communications for compliance review. Every transmission is automatically logged, time-stamped, and stored in the communications archive system. It's a tedious but necessary process. Our legal department requires complete records for incident investigations. On March 3rd, during a routine audit, I noticed an irregularity in Log 7B, the overnight maintenance channel. The file, time-stamped Orotoops 17 a.m. on February 28th, contained a standard exchange. Dispatch, me. Control to Unit 12, you're cleared for track access. Section G9, confirm receipt. Unit 12, male voice. Unit 12 confirms accessing G9 for signal relay replacement. Estimate 40 minutes. Continue. Standard. Except I didn't work the night of February 28th. I was on scheduled leave. My replacement was Ellen Kowalski. I checked the supervisor log. Her initials were on the shift report. But the audio file's metadata clearly showed my employee ID, DS4477TH. I assumed it was a database error. I flagged it for IT and moved on. 3 days later, another file appeared in log 7B dated March 1st, 03:42 a.m. Again, I wasn't working. Dispatch, me. Control to Unit 7 advising power shutdown, section M3 through M7, acknowledge. Unit 7, female voice. Unit 7 acknowledges beginning thermal inspection of tertiary conduits, continue. My voice, my cadence, my clearance code embedded in the file properties. I pulled the personnel database for Unit 7. The assigned technician was listed as Angela Trenton. I knew Angela, competent, detail-oriented, transferred to our Western Division 6 months ago. I called her. Angela, this is Thomas Hale, Central Dispatch. Quick question, were you working Section M3 on March 1st? No, sir. I haven't been on the central grid since October. Did you authorize anyone to use your unit designation? Absolutely not. I thanked her and hung up. Then I listened to the file again. The voice, her voice, sounded correct. Same pitch, same regional accent. But Angela was 300 miles away. I requested a full audit of log 7B for the previous month. It delivered it the next morning. 47 files, all time-stamped between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., all bearing my supervisor credentials, all containing dispatches I never issued. I listened to everyone. The voices were familiar. Engineers, technicians, electricians I'd worked with for years. Some still employed, others retired, 2 deceased. One file dated February 19th featured a voice I immediately recognized, Marcus Daly. Marcus was a veteran signal technician, efficient and experienced. He died in a car accident 14 months ago. Dispatch me. Control to Unit 19, proceed to Junction L14 for emergency signal verification. Unit 19, Marcus. Copy that, Control. En route to L14, should have it squared away in 30, continue. I sat there, headphones on, replaying it. The background noise was accurate. Ventilation hum, distant train rumble, the metallic echo of the tunnels. Marcus's voice, unmistakable. The file timestamp February 19th, 2:54 a.m., 12 days ago. I checked the maintenance logs for Junction L14 on that date. An emergency signal verification was performed, logged by Unit 19, authorized by Supervisor DS4477TH. Me. The work order was completed and signed off. Normal paperwork. Except Marcus Daly was cremated in January of last year. I tried to rationalize it. Archive corruption, audio splicing, some kind of elaborate technical glitch. But the work had been completed. Physical work. Someone accessed Junction L14, verified the signal, filed a report. On March 8th, I decided to monitor the overnight dispatch channel in real time. I stayed late, alone in the secondary control room, headphones on, watching the clock. At 2:13 a.m., my console flickered. The screen refreshed and an active dispatch window opened, one I didn't initiate. Then my own voice came through the speakers. Dispatch me. Control to Unit 23, you have clearance for deep tunnel access, Section R7, confirm. I wasn't speaking, my hands were on the desk, but my voice continued. Unit 23, male voice, unfamiliar. Unit 23 confirms, descending to R7 for structural assessment, estimate 60 minutes. Continue. I checked the live personnel tracker. No Unit 23 active, no one assigned to Section R7. I grabbed the radio manually. This is Supervisor Hale. Who is Unit 23? Identify yourself. Silence. The dispatch window on my console continued logging the exchange, my voice issuing instructions I wasn't speaking. A phantom unit responding with calm professionalism. At 2:31 a.m., the window closed. The file saved automatically to log 7B, metadata intact. Supervisor DS4477TH. I pulled the recording. My voice. Perfect. Authoritative. Giving clearances, coordinating tasks, managing a crew that didn't exist. Or shouldn't. The next morning, I confronted IT. They ran diagnostics, checked for intrusions, reviewed access logs, nothing. The files are legitimate, the technician said. Generated from your terminal. Authenticated with your credentials. No external spoofing detected. But I didn't generate them, he shrugged. Then you've got a sleepwalking problem, sir. I started researching. Deep into the CMA's archives, I found a reference to an incident in 1992. A dispatch supervisor named Leonard Voss reported similar anomalies. Radio communications logged under his credentials, dispatches he didn't recall issuing. His complaints escalated until, in November 1992, he requested a transfer. The request was denied. His final log entry, dated December 4th, 1992, was a single audio file. Dispatch, Voss. I know what this is now. It's not a glitch. It's the system remembering us, remembering the work. It doesn't stop just because we do. Continue. Leonard Voss's employment record ends there. No resignation, no termination, just absent. Last week I found a file dated March 14th, yesterday, time-stamped 03:05 a.m. I was home, asleep. Dispatch, me. Control to all units, be advised, structural concerns in lower archive tunnel. Restricted access until further notice. Multiple voices overlapping. Acknowledged, continue. I didn't issue that advisory, but this morning the lower archive tunnel was sealed off. Yellow tape across the access door. A maintenance notice citing supervisor authorization. I went down there myself. The tunnel is old, rarely used, mostly storage for decommissioned equipment. I walked the length of it, flashlight cutting through the dust. At the far end, I found something, a desk, an old dispatch console, powered off, covered in grime, but the nameplate was still there. Supervisor Leonard Voss, and beneath it, a logbook. Handwritten entries, dates spanning from 1989 to 1992, each one describing the same phenomenon I've been experiencing. The final entry, December 4th, 1992. It doesn't matter if I'm here or not. The dispatches continue, the work continues. I think I've become part of the system. I think we all do eventually. The question is whether you resist or let it happen. I'm tired of resisting. Continue. I took the logbook. I should have reported it. I didn't. 2 nights ago, I woke at 2:47 a.m. I don't remember getting out of bed. I don't remember driving to the facility, but I have a foggy, distant memory of sitting at my console, headphones on, issuing clearances, my voice calm, professional, authoritative. When I came fully awake, I was at the console. Log 7B was open on my screen. 17 new files, all time-stamped throughout the night, all my voice. I played one. Dispatch, me. Control to Unit 34, confirming deep maintenance rotation, Section X2, you're cleared for descent, continue. Unit 34, voice I didn't recognize. Acknowledged, control, descending now, continue. I checked the personnel database for Unit 34, the assigned name Thomas Hale, my own file. Active status, assigned to deep maintenance. But I'm a supervisor. I don't do field work. Or I didn't. I'm not sure anymore. This morning I found a voicemail on my phone, time-stamped 3:12 a.m. It was my own voice. The system needs us, Thomas. It remembers the work. It remembers you. Don't fight it. Continue. Tonight, I'll be at the console. I don't think I have a choice anymore. The dispatches keep coming. The work keeps continuing. And somewhere deep in the tunnels, Unit 34 is descending into Section X2, carrying out orders I don't remember giving. But the system remembers. It always remembers. Continue. Story 3. Signal lost at section 42. The man in the analog footage walked toward the camera for 11 minutes. The timestamp said 1969. But he was wearing my vest. I've been a systems engineer for the Transit Operations Network for 13 years, specializing in signal monitoring infrastructure. My typical shift involves maintaining the health of over 200 cameras, motion sensors, and automated alert systems spanning the underground grid. Section 42 is one of my zones, a quiet stretch of tunnel connecting the North Depot to the Green Line's terminus, rarely traveled except for scheduled maintenance rotations. On April 6th at 11:43 p.m., a severe electrical storm knocked out power to 3 surface substations. Our backup systems kicked in immediately and most of the grid remained operational. However, Section 42's monitoring suite, cameras 42A through 42F, plus the integrated motion sensors went offline. Standard protocol: log the outage, wait for power restoration, file a maintenance request if it doesn't auto-recover. At 12:17 a.m., 5 of the 6 cameras restored. Only 42D remained offline. I cycled the feed manually. Black screen. I checked the physical diagnostics. No power fault, no severed connection, signal integrity normal. The camera was receiving power and transmitting data, but the screen showed nothing. At 12:34 a.m., the feed came back. It was wrong. The image was grainy, monochromatic, heavily pixelated, like footage from an old analog system. Our network went fully digital in 1998. Every camera was upgraded, every feed routed through fiber optics. There shouldn't be any analog video in the archive, let alone streaming live. The feed showed a tunnel. Section 42, unmistakably, I recognized the curvature, the maintenance alcove at the 30-meter mark, the old ventilation grate. But the quality was degraded, washed out, and the lighting was different, dimmer. The modern LED strips were absent. Instead, the tunnel was illuminated by older incandescent fixtures casting harsher shadows. In the center of the frame, a figure stood motionless. A man, facing away from the camera, wearing a reflective safety vest, work boots, a hard hat. He stood perfectly still, hands at his sides, about 50 meters down the tunnel. I zoomed in. The vest bore a logo, faded, barely legible, but I recognized it. It was the old Transit Authority emblem, phased out in 1974 when the system rebranded. I radioed Central. Control, this is Engineer Hale. I'm seeing an anomaly on camera 42D. Possible archival feed bleed-through. Can you confirm? Stand by, Engineer. I waited, watching the figure. He didn't move. Control responded. Negative, Engineer. All feeds are live. 42D is pulling from the current stream. No archive access active. Then someone's in Section 42. Can you confirm maintenance personnel? Negative. No maintenance scheduled for Section 42 tonight. No personnel logged in that zone. I stared at the screen. The figure remained motionless. At 12:41 a.m. he moved. Slowly, deliberately, he turned around. His face was obscured by shadow and the low resolution of the feed, but his body language was calm, measured. Then he began walking, directly toward the camera. His pace was steady, methodical. Each step echoed faintly through the audio feed, a soft, rhythmic tap-tap-tap of boots on concrete. The sound quality matched the visual, degraded, compressed like audio from an ancient tape recorder. I checked the timestamp overlay on the feed. It read, 1947-22-11-08-1969, 30 years before our digital system existed. Control, I'm seeing a timestamp error on 42D displaying 1969. Please advise. Copy, Engineer. Reviewing now. The figure continued walking, closer. I could see more detail now despite the poor quality. The vest was torn at the shoulder, the hard hat slightly askew. His gait was normal, unhurried, but something about the way he moved felt off. Too smooth, too even, like footage played at slightly the wrong speed. At 12:49 a.m., he reached the 20-meter mark. His face was still indistinct, lost in graininess and shadow, but his posture was focused. He was looking directly at the camera now, directly at me. Control came back. Engineer, IT confirms timestamp corruption on 42D. They're running a diagnostic. Do not rely on that feed for live monitoring. Understood, but someone is physically in that tunnel. Negative. Dispatch confirms Section 42 is clear. No access logged. The figure kept walking. At 12:53 a.m., I opened the physical maintenance log for Section 42. The last recorded entry was from March 14th, a routine track inspection. Before that, sporadic entries stretching back years. But one entry caught my attention. November 8th, 1969. Preventive maintenance, camera installation. Crew chief, Walter Brennan. Walter Brennan, I'd heard the name. One of the original engineers when the system first expanded into the northern tunnels. He'd overseen much of the early infrastructure work. I pulled his personnel file from the archive database. Employment start, 1965. Employment end, November 8th, 1969. Status deceased, on-site incident, no further details. The figure was 10 meters from the camera now. Close enough that I should be able to see his face, but the resolution degraded further the closer he came, as if the feed itself was resisting clarity. His vest swayed slightly with each step. His hands hung loose. At 12:58 a.m., every other monitor in Section 42 went black. 42A, 42B, 42C, 42E, 42F, all feeds cut simultaneously. Only 42D remained active. The figure stopped. 5 meters from the camera, he stood there, chest rising and falling in slow, even breaths. Then he raised one hand and pointed directly at the lens. His mouth moved. The audio feed crackled, distorted, but I heard it. A single word, repeated. Continue. At 1 a.m., the feed cut to black. All 6 cameras in Section 42 restored simultaneously. Crystal clear digital feeds, modern LED lighting, empty tunnel. I sat there staring at the blank space where 42D had been. My hands were shaking. I filed an incident report, flagged the footage for review, requested a physical inspection of Section 42. The next morning, I received a response from IT. No footage anomaly detected. Feed 42D operated normally throughout the night. No archival bleed-through logged, no timestamp corruption recorded. I logged into the archive myself. The footage from 12:17 a.m. to 1 a.m. on camera 42D showed an empty tunnel. Standard digital feed. Nothing unusual. But I had watched it. I had seen him. I requested access to the historical incident database, digging for details on Walter Brennan's death. The file was sparse. On-site fatality during camera installation, Section 42, November 8, 1969. Cause, electrocution, body recovered, investigation closed. No further notes, no photographs, no witness statements. I decided to inspect Section 42 myself. I logged a maintenance visit, descended into the tunnel at 2:30 p.m. with a flashlight and a portable diagnostic kit. The tunnel was exactly as the live feeds showed, clean, modern, well lit. I walked the length of it, checking the camera mounts. At camera 42D, I found something. The mounting bracket was new, installed during the 1998 upgrade, but behind it, bolted into the concrete, was an older bracket, rusted, corroded, the original mount from 1969. I knelt down, examining it. Scratched into the metal, barely visible, were initials, W.B. Walter Brennan. I ran my fingers over the letters, cold, rough. Then I heard it. Footsteps, distant, echoing from deeper in the tunnel. Steady, rhythmic, tap, tap, tap. I turned, shining my flashlight down the corridor. Nothing. Empty tunnel. But the footsteps continued, growing closer. I backed toward the exit, keeping the light trained ahead. The sound grew louder, more distinct. Boots on concrete, someone walking. But I saw no one. At 50 meters, the footsteps stopped. I stood there, light trembling in my hand, listening. Silence. Then faintly from the darkness beyond my flashlight's reach. Continue. I ran. I returned to the control room, filed my report. Possible acoustic anomaly in Section 42. Recommend further investigation. And requested a transfer to a different zone. The request was denied. Insufficient grounds for transfer. Section 42 remains your assigned zone. That night, camera 42D went offline again. At 12:17 a.m. I didn't want to check the feed, but I had to. The same grainy analog footage, the same tunnel, the same figure standing 50 meters away. This time, he wasn't alone. There were others. 5, maybe 6, all in old reflective vests, all standing motionless facing the camera. The timestamp read 1947-22-1108-1969. One by one, they began walking, toward the camera, toward me. I muted the audio. I couldn't listen to the footsteps again, but I watched. They walked in sync, a slow processional, shadows merging and separating in the poor lighting. At 20 meters, I recognized one of them. The figure in front, the same one from the night before. Except now I could see his face through the grain. It was my face, older, worn, tired, but unmistakably me, staring back from a feed time-stamped 56 years ago. At 1 a.m. the feed cut out. This morning I received an email from HR. Congratulations on your 25th year with the Transit Operations Network. Your service milestone will be recognized at the annual employee ceremony. 25th year. But I've only worked here for 13. I checked my personnel file. Employment start November 8, 1969. Position, camera installation technician. Supervisor, Walter Brennan. My hands are shaking as I write this. I don't remember 1969. I wasn't born until 1984. But the system says otherwise. Tonight I'll be at the console. Camera 42D will go offline at 12:17 a.m. The feed will return, grainy and analog, and I'll watch myself walk toward the camera again. Some installations never finish. Some crews never leave the tunnel. The work continues, shift after shift, year after year, recorded on cameras that shouldn't exist, and the footage never lies. Story 4. The backup line. The backup power line that's been dead for 30 years just reported a heartbeat traveling through it at 60 meters per minute. I started as a junior power systems controller 3 months ago with the Regional Transit Electrical Management Division. My job is simple: monitor the grid, log anomalies, escalate issues to senior engineers. Most of my time is spent watching numbers on screens, voltage levels, current loads, circuit statuses. It's monotonous work, but stable. On my second week, my supervisor assigned me to monitor Line 47, a backup electrical conduit installed in 1971 as a redundancy for the Southern Depot. It hasn't been active since 1989, when a newer, more efficient line was brought online. Line 47 still exists in the grid topology, but it's essentially dormant. Zero load, no throughput, just a vestigial cable running beneath the maintenance tunnels. Just keep an eye on it, my supervisor said. Log the readings once per shift. Formality, really. It's been dead for decades. The monitoring interface for Line 47 is basic. A single panel showing voltage, current, and temperature. Every reading displayed the same values: 0.0V, 0.0A, ambient temperature. I logged it every night at midnight. Line 47, no activity, status dormant. On May the 2nd, the reading changed. At 12:07 a.m., the voltage spiked to 0.3V. A flicker, barely noticeable. I assumed it was electromagnetic interference from an adjacent line. I logged it. Minor voltage fluctuation, Line 47. Probable EMI, no action required. The next night, it happened again. 12:07 a.m., 0.3V for 3 seconds, then back to 0. On May 4th, The spike lasted longer, 8 seconds, and reached 0.5 V. Still negligible, but the pattern bothered me. I checked the historical logs for Line 47, no recorded activity since 1989. Just flat zeros for 34 years. I filed a maintenance request, requesting diagnostic check on Line 47. Unexplained voltage fluctuations detected. The response came 2 days later. Line 47 inactive. Fluctuations likely due to capacitive coupling. Monitor and log. No physical inspection required. On May 9th, the spike occurred at 12:07 a.m. and lasted 40 seconds. Voltage reached 1.2 V. Current registered at 0.01 A. Not enough to power anything, but enough to indicate active flow. I zoomed into the waveform display. The signal wasn't random noise. It pulsed rhythmically, evenly spaced, like a heartbeat. I called my supervisor. Line 47 is showing periodic signals, not interference. Structured. Structured how? Rhythmic, regular intervals. It looks biological. He laughed. Biological? It's a power line, not an EKG. Just log it. I logged it, but I started monitoring Line 47 continuously, not just once per shift. The pulses appeared every night at 12:07 a.m. The voltage gradually increased, 1.5 V, 2.0 V, 3.4 V. The rhythm remained consistent, one pulse every 1.2 seconds, and the current, though minimal, was measurable. On May 15th, the monitoring system flagged an alert I'd never seen before. Biosignature detected, Line 47 biosignature, the grid's environmental sensors designed to detect unauthorized human presence near high-voltage equipment had triggered. But Line 47 ran through sealed conduits. No access points, no personnel. I pulled the sensor data. The alert originated from segment 12 of Line 47, approximately 200 meters into the tunnel network. The system reported human biothermal pattern detected, movement detected, direction, forward along conduit, movement through a sealed electrical conduit. I escalated immediately. My supervisor reviewed the data, consulted with engineering, and authorized a physical inspection. A 2-person crew was dispatched to segment 12. They found nothing. The conduit was intact, sealed, empty. No signs of entry. No heat signatures. Must be a sensor malfunction, the crew chief reported. But that night at 12:07 a.m., the biosignature reappeared. This time in segment 15, 90 meters further along the line. The system tracked it in real time. A thermal mass, roughly human-sized, moving steadily through the conduit at approximately 60 meters per hour. I watched the sensors light up one by one as it progressed. Segment 16, segment 17, segment 18. It moved without stopping, without deviation, following the exact path of Line 47 through the underground grid. At 1:43 a.m. it reached segment 24, the terminal junction where Line 47 connects to the main distribution panel in substation E. Then it stopped. The biosignature remained stationary for 11 minutes. The voltage on Line 47 spiked to 8.7 V. Then at 1:54 a.m. the entire line went live. Full voltage. Full current. 440 V, 60 Hz AC, enough to power the southern depot. Alarms screamed across the control room. Line 47, dormant for 34 years, was suddenly active, drawing load, feeding power into circuits that hadn't seen current in decades. Breakers tripped, safety systems engaged, the grid automatically rerouted to compensate. I killed the feed manually, isolating Line 47 from the main grid. The voltage dropped to 0. The biosignature vanished. Emergency protocols kicked in. Engineers swarmed substation E, inspecting the junction, checking for faults. They found the main breaker for Line 47 closed, switched to the on position. But substation E is automated. No manual access. The breaker requires a physical key and a 2-person authorization to operate. The logs showed the breaker closed at 1:54 a.m. Authorization code EC7731MR. I pulled the authorization database. EC731MR belonged to Michael Rourke, a senior electrical engineer. I radioed him. Michael, did you authorize activation of Line 47 last night? Line 47? Hell no, I didn't even know it still existed. Your code was used. Impossible. I haven't accessed Substation E in 6 months. I checked his access logs. He was right. No physical access, no remote login. Yet his code had authenticated the breaker closure. I dug deeper. Michael Rourke's personnel file listed his employment start date, March 14, 1985. Retired September 22, 2018. Status deceased, January 5, 2019. Michael Rourke had been dead for 4 years. I returned to the biosignature data, replaying the thermal track. The pattern was unmistakable. Steady forward motion, consistent thermal output, no deviation. It had moved through the sealed conduit like a person walking. I cross-referenced the timeline. Line 47 was decommissioned in 1989 following a fatal accident during a maintenance operation. An engineer was electrocuted while attempting to upgrade the line. His body was recovered, but the line was deemed unsafe and permanently shut down. The engineer's name, Michael Rourke. I sat there staring at the data. The biosignature had traveled the entire length of Line 47, from the southern depot access point to Substation E, following the exact route Michael would have taken during that final maintenance shift. Last night, the pulses returned. 12:07 a.m. voltage fluctuations, the rhythm steady, familiar now. And then, at 12:34 a.m., my console received a message. Text only, no sender ID. Line 47 operational, resuming maintenance protocol, authorization EC7731MR. I tried to respond. The interface wouldn't accept input. The biosignature appeared again, starting at segment 1, moving forward 60 meters per hour. I tracked it through the night, segment after segment. It reached Substation E at 1:54 a.m. The voltage spiked. The breaker closed. Line 47 went live. This time I didn't shut it down. I watched the load stabilize, the current smooth and steady. The southern depot drew power seamlessly, as if Line 47 had never been dormant. At 2:03 a.m., another message. Maintenance complete. Line secured, continuing oversight. The biosignature didn't vanish this time. It remained stationary at the junction, thermal pattern stable. This morning, engineering confirmed Line 47 is now operational. Somehow reactivated during the night. Running perfectly will keep it in service. I filed my report, omitting the biosignature data, omitting the messages. They'd never believe me. But every night at 12:07 a.m. I watch the sensors. The thermal mass is still there, steady and patient, maintaining the line that killed it 34 years ago. Some engineers never leave their posts. Some currents never stop flowing. Story 5, Echo Chamber 03. The tunnel hum analyzed into a voice, mine, speaking coordinates to a place that doesn't exist on any map we've ever drawn. I'm an acoustic engineer contracted by the Metropolitan Transit Infrastructure Division. My specialty is vibrational analysis, identifying structural resonances, diagnosing mechanical faults, mitigating noise pollution in underground environments. Most of my work involves recording ambient sound profiles, analyzing frequency spectra, and recommending dampening solutions. On June 11th, I received a work order for Echo Chamber 03, a maintenance access tunnel beneath the central hub primarily used for ventilation equipment housing. Station staff had reported a persistent low-frequency hum, audible but not loud, present at all hours. Complaints ranged from headaches to mild nausea among workers who spent extended time in the area. Standard acoustic annoyance, likely a resonating fan blade or harmonic vibration from adjacent machinery. I arrived at Echo Chamber 03 at 10:15 p.m., when train traffic was minimal and ambient noise reduced. The chamber is a long, concrete-lined corridor, approximately 60 meters, lined with ventilation ducts, electrical conduits, and aging pipework. The hum was immediately noticeable. A deep sub-bass tone, around 40 hertz, just within the range of human hearing. Felt as much as heard. I set up my recording equipment, omnidirectional microphones, a spectrum analyzer, and a portable DAW for waveform visualization. I recorded 3 10-minute samples at different positions along the chamber, then returned to my office for analysis. The waveform was unusual. Most mechanical hums produce clean sinusoidal waves, smooth, repetitive, predictable. This was different. The 40 Hz carrier tone was present, yes, but modulated, fluctuating in amplitude and phase, not randomly, but in patterns, structured patterns. I isolated the modulation and amplified it. The result was a secondary signal, much quieter, riding atop the primary hum. When visualized, the waveform showed rhythmic peaks and valleys, evenly spaced, recurring at intervals of approximately 1.7 seconds. It looked like speech, phonetic cadence, syllabic rhythm. I applied a bandpass filter to isolate the modulation, then ran it through a formant analysis tool designed to identify human vocal characteristics. The software flagged it immediately. Human voice detected. Confidence, 87%. A voice, hidden in the hum. I cleaned the signal further, removing noise, enhancing the mid-range frequencies. Then I played it back. Static. Distortion. But beneath it, faint and distant words. I couldn't make them out. The degradation was too severe. But the cadence was unmistakable. Someone speaking. Deliberately. Slowly. I ran the audio through phonetic reconstruction software designed for forensic analysis of degraded recordings. The algorithm processed for 11 minutes, then returned a partial transcription. Coordinates, north sector, junction, repeat, coordinates. Coordinates. I enhanced the signal further, sacrificing quality for clarity. The voice became more distinct, male, calm, methodical, and familiar. I played it again, headphones on, volume high. Coordinates north sector 7, junction 19, repeat. Coordinates north sector 7, junction 19. The voice was mine. I pulled the headphones off. My hands were shaking. I checked the recording metadata, date, time, location. June 11th, 10:17 p.m., echo chamber, though 3. I had been there, recording, not speaking. I replayed the original raw audio, the hum unprocessed, unchanged. The voice was embedded in it, not added, not spliced. It had been there all along, hidden in the vibration of the tunnel itself. I cross-referenced the transit grid maps. North Sector 7, Junction 19. No such designation existed. Our sector numbering stopped at Sector 6. Junction labels ran up to J14. I searched the historical archives, old blueprints, decommissioned tunnel networks, abandoned expansions, nothing matched. But I kept hearing my voice. Coordinates, North Sector 7, Junction 19. I returned to Echo Chamber 03 the next night. Same equipment, same setup. I recorded for 30 minutes, moving methodically through the chamber, capturing every angle. Back at my office, I analyzed the new recordings. The hum was still there, still modulated. I extracted the embedded signal. This time, the voice was clearer. Coordinates confirmed, North Sector 7, Junction 19. Depth, 47 meters. Access route, maintenance corridor, Echo Chamber 03, descending passage. Repeat. Coordinates confirmed. Descending passage. I had walked the entire length of Echo Chamber 03. There was no descending passage. The corridor terminated at a sealed ventilation unit, unless I missed something. I reviewed the architectural plans for Echo Chamber 03. Standard layout, 60-meter corridor, single level, no vertical access, but in the corner of the blueprint, a faint notation. Sublevel access, sealed 1978. Sublevel. I contacted the facilities manager. Was there ever a sublevel beneath Echo Chamber AO3? Not that I'm aware of. The chamber's been the same since the 60s. The plans mention a sealed sublevel. Sealed means closed off, filled in, not accessible. I needed to see for myself. At 11:30 p.m., I returned to Echo Chambers 03 with a flashlight, a pry bar, and a portable audio recorder. I walked to the terminal end of the corridor, the ventilation unit bolted to the wall. Behind it, concrete, solid. I knelt down, examining the floor. In the far corner, barely visible beneath decades of grime, was a seam. A rectangular outline, approximately 1 meter by 1 meter. A hatch. I cleared the dirt. The seam was real, a metal plate, rusted, flush with the floor. No handle, no visible fasteners, but along one edge, a gap. I wedged the pry bar in and pulled. The plate shifted, screeching metal. I levered it up inch by inch until I could grip the edge and haul it open. Beneath was darkness, a vertical shaft descending into nothing. Rungs bolted to the wall, a ladder. The air rising from below was cold, stale, carrying the faint scent of mildew. I clipped the audio recorder to my belt, switched on the flashlight, and descended. The ladder extended 12 meters down. At the bottom, a narrow passage, concrete, low ceiling, claustrophobic. It stretched forward into darkness, curving slightly to the left. I followed it. The passage ran for 30 meters, then opened into a wider space, a small chamber, circular, maybe 4 meters in diameter. In the center, a metal plaque bolted to the floor, engraved text, faded but legible. North Sector 7, Junction 19. I stood there, staring. It existed, a place that shouldn't be on any map, a designation that predated the current grid system. The hum was louder here, resonating through the walls, the floor, vibrating in my chest. I activated the recorder. The hum filled the space, overwhelming. I closed my eyes, listening, and within it my voice, clear now, no distortion. You've arrived. Coordinates confirmed. North Sector 7, Junction 19. Depth, 47 meters. You've been here before. You'll be here again. Repeat. I opened my eyes. The chamber was empty. No equipment, no source for the sound, just the hum, vibrating through the concrete. I backed toward the passage. My recorder was still running. I needed to leave. I climbed the ladder, pulled the hatch closed, and returned to the surface. At my office, I reviewed the recording from the sub-level chamber. The hum, my voice. But there was something else. A second voice, overlapping mine. Faint, distorted, but distinct. I isolated it, enhanced it. It was also my voice, but older, tired. Coordinates logged, sub-level accessed. Date, June 13th, time 23:47. Witness, name inaudible. Status, ongoing. Repeat, June 13th. That was tomorrow night. I checked the timestamp on my recording. June 12th, 11:52 p.m. The voice in the sub-level was speaking from the future. My future. I didn't return to Echo Chambers 03 last night. I stayed home. I tried to convince myself it was a mistake, a hallucination, stress-induced auditory pareidolia. But at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Coordinates, North Sector 7, Junction 19. You missed your shift. Repeat. I didn't respond. I turned off my phone. This morning I received an email from the Transit Authority. Acoustic analysis of Echo Chamber 03 complete. Issue unresolved. Requesting follow-up site visit. Scheduled June 13th, 23:30. I didn't schedule that visit. I didn't file a completion report, but my name is on the work order, my signature, my authorization code. Tonight is June 13th. It's 23:12 now. I'm sitting at my desk listening to the recordings again. The hum. My voice. The coordinates. The message repeats. You've been here before. You'll be here again. I don't remember being there before. But the recordings don't lie. The waveforms don't fabricate. The voice is mine, captured in the resonance of the tunnel, layered over itself, past and future collapsing into a single, unending loop. At 23:30, I'll return to Echo Chamber 03. I'll descend the ladder. I'll stand in that chamber and record the hum again. And my voice will be there, speaking coordinates, confirming my arrival, logging the date and time. Because that's what the echo requires. The chamber doesn't just record sound, it preserves it, cycles it, demands its repetition. Some frequencies never decay. Some voices never stop speaking. And some coordinates lead only to yourself. Story 6. Terminal Access. The hidden terminal showed me stepping into the tunnel 30 seconds before I decided to do it. I'm a systems technician for the Central Transit Network, responsible for maintaining the software infrastructure that manages station monitoring, scheduling coordination, and operational databases. My workstation sits in the secondary control hub, a climate-controlled room filled with servers, redundant terminals, and backup systems. Most of my day involves updating firmware, patching security vulnerabilities, and troubleshooting user errors. On July 19th, while performing a routine archive cleanup, I accidentally triggered a command I'd never seen before. I was purging old log files, navigating through nested directories when I mistyped a command sequence. Instead of the expected error message, the screen flickered and a new interface loaded. Black background, white text, a single line at the top. Terminal 0, predictive operations interface below it, a grid of live camera feeds, identical to our standard monitoring array. 12 stations, 43 cameras, real-time video. I recognized the layout immediately. Whitmore Station, Claremont Junction, Riverside Platform. But the interface design was different. Older, more utilitarian, like software from the 80s. I assumed it was an outdated legacy system, accidentally preserved during a migration. I tried to close it. The interface didn't respond. No exit button, no command prompt. Just the feeds, playing silently. I minimized the window and returned to my cleanup tasks. But something nagged at me. I reopened Terminal 0 and watched. The feeds were live. I confirmed this by cross-referencing with our primary monitoring system. Same cameras, same angles, same timestamps. Whitmore Station showed the 7:43 p.m. crowd, commuters waiting, a custodian mopping near the turnstiles, a train pulling in. Then I noticed the timestamp. Primary system 1943:12. Terminal 0 1943:42, 30 seconds ahead. I stared at the discrepancy. Clocks drift sometimes, network latency, sync errors. But 30 seconds was too much. I watched both feeds simultaneously. On Terminal 0, the train at Whitmore Station departed. Passengers boarded, doors closed, the train slid out of frame. I looked at the primary feed. The train was still at the platform, doors open, passengers still boarding. 28 seconds later, the train departed on the primary feed, exactly as Terminal 0 had shown. I ran the test again. Claremont Junction. Terminal 0 showed a man in a blue jacket dropping his phone. It skittered across the platform. He bent down, retrieved it, checked the screen. I switched to the primary feed. The man stood there, phone in hand, scrolling. Then 29 seconds later, he dropped it. Same sequence, exact match. Terminal 0 was showing the future, not predictions, not simulations, actual footage 30 seconds before it happened. I should have reported it immediately. I didn't, I kept watching. For 2 hours, I monitored Terminal 0, comparing it against the live feeds. Every event matched. A woman missed her train, a child spilled a drink, a platform sign malfunctioned. Terminal 0 showed it all precisely 30 seconds early. At 10:17 p.m., I decided to test it further. I opened the station intercom controls on my primary system and prepared to make an announcement. I didn't activate it yet, just hovered my cursor over the button. On Terminal 0, I watched Whitmore Station. 30 seconds passed. Then on the Terminal 0 feed, I heard my own voice over the intercom. "Attention passengers, this is a system test. Please disregard." I hadn't pressed the button yet, but on Terminal 0 I already had. 28 seconds later, I pressed it. I spoke the exact words Terminal 0 had predicted. I sat back, pulse racing. Terminal 0 wasn't just showing the future, it was showing my future, my actions, my decisions. I tried to outsmart it. I planned to make a different announcement, something random, unpredictable. I watched Terminal 0. 30 seconds later, my voice came through. Testing. 1, 2, 3. That wasn't what I'd planned to say. But 28 seconds later, when I activated the intercom, those were the exact words that came out. I tried again. This time I decided not to make any announcement at all. I would stay silent. On Terminal 0 I watched. 30 seconds passed. Silence. No announcement. And 30 seconds later, in real time, I remained silent. Terminal 0 adapted. It predicted my choice not to act. Over the next week, I monitored Terminal 0 obsessively. I didn't tell anyone. I needed to understand it first. The system predicted everything. Technical failures, passenger incidents, scheduling delays. I began using it proactively, dispatching maintenance crews before equipment failed, rerouting trains before delays occurred. My performance reviews praised my unprecedented efficiency. But Terminal 0 began showing things I didn't want to see. On July 26th, I watched a feed from Riverside Platform. A man stood near the edge, staring at the tracks. 30 seconds later, he jumped. I switched to the live feed. The man was there, same position. I had 28 seconds. I radioed station security. "Emergency Riverside Platform, possible jumper, respond immediately." Security arrived. The man stepped back. They escorted him away. I'd prevented it. Terminal 0 had shown me a future that didn't happen. Or had it? That night, I reviewed the Terminal 0 footage. The man still jumped. The timeline hadn't changed in the recording, but in reality, he hadn't. Terminal 0 was showing a future that could be altered, or, more disturbingly, a future that existed in parallel, unaffected by my intervention. On July 30th, Terminal 0 showed me something worse. I was watching my own workstation feed. Yes, Terminal 0 included a camera pointed at my desk, though I'd never noticed it installed. On the feed, I saw myself stand up, walk to the server room, and access Terminal 47, a critical routing server. Then on Terminal 0, I watched myself input a command. The monitors flickered. Every station feed went black. Total system failure. 30 seconds later, in real time, I felt the urge to stand. To walk to the server room, I fought it. I stayed seated, gripped the armrests of my chair. 20 seconds, 15. The urge intensified, not a conscious thought, but a physical compulsion. My legs wanted to move. 10 seconds. I stood. I didn't want to, but I stood. I walked to the server room. My hands moved automatically. Entering the access code, opening the server cabinet. I reached for Terminal 47. 5 seconds. I stopped, forced myself to stop. My hand hovered over the keyboard. 0. On the primary monitoring system, nothing happened. The feeds remained live. No system failure. I returned to my desk. On Terminal 0, I watched the playback. I had executed the command. The system had failed. But in this timeline, I hadn't. I'd broken the prediction. For 3 days, Terminal 0 continued operating normally, predicting events 30 seconds ahead. I monitored it constantly, looking for discrepancies. There were none. Until August 2nd. That night, Terminal 0 showed me walking into the maintenance tunnel beneath the control hub. I descended the service ladder, walked 50 meters into the tunnel, and stopped. I stood there, facing the wall, motionless. The feed continued for 11 minutes. I didn't move, just stood there staring. Then the feed cut to black. 30 seconds later, in real time, I felt the urge. Not to walk to the server room, to descend into the tunnel. I didn't want to go. But the compulsion was overwhelming, stronger than before. My body moved without consent. I stood. I walked to the access hatch. I climbed down. The tunnel was cold, dimly lit, lined with pipes and electrical conduits. I walked forward, counting my steps. 50 meters, I stopped. In front of me, the concrete wall. Nothing unusual. But I couldn't look away. I stood there. 5 minutes, 10. I checked my watch. 11 minutes. Then I heard it. A voice. Faint. Behind me. I turned. The tunnel was empty. The voice again. Closer. My voice. "You've been here before. You'll be here again." I ran. Back to the ladder, up to the control hub, slamming the hatch shut behind me. At my desk, Terminal 0 was still open, the feed showing my workstation. And on that feed, 30 seconds ahead, I watched myself sit down, open a drawer, and pull out a handgun. I don't own a handgun. I've never brought a weapon to work. But on Terminal 0, I watched myself raise it. Pointed at the camera, pulled the trigger. The feed went black. 30 seconds later, I sat at my desk. I opened the drawer. Inside was a handgun. I don't know how it got there. I don't remember bringing it. But my hand reached for it. Autopilot. The compulsion absolute. I picked it up, raised it, pointed it at the camera mounted above my workstation. 20 seconds. My finger moved to the trigger. 15 seconds. I tried to stop. My hand wouldn't obey. 10 seconds. I screamed. My voice, but not my will. 5 seconds. I closed my eyes. 0. I don't remember pulling the trigger, but when I opened my eyes, the camera was destroyed, sparking, smoking. The gun was in my hand. Terminal 0 was still open. The feed had reset. 30 seconds ahead, I watched myself stand, walk to the hatch, descend into the tunnel. I'm writing this now because I don't know how much time I have. Terminal 0 is predicting my actions faster than I can resist them. Every decision I think I'm making, I've already made it 30 seconds ago. The system isn't showing the future, it's creating it. Locking me into a timeline I can't escape. 10 minutes ago, Terminal 0 showed me descending into the tunnel again, walking deeper this time, farther than before. And 30 seconds from now, I'll stand. I'll walk to the hatch, I'll climb down. I don't want to go, but I will, because Terminal 0 has already seen it. Some systems don't predict behavior, they prescribe it. And once you're inside the loop, every choice you think you're making, you made 30 seconds ago. Story 7. The shift that never logged out. The terminal that's been unplugged for 9 months just typed "welcome back" when I reconnected the power. I've been a maintenance crew chief for the Underground Transit Facilities Department for 6 years. My team handles equipment servicing, infrastructure inspections, and work order coordination across the northern grid. Part of my role involves reviewing time cards and shift logs to ensure compliance with labor regulations and safety protocols. On August 8th, while auditing payroll discrepancies, I noticed an anomaly in the time card database. Employee number 4.421. Jacob Merrill had clocked in for a night shift on November 14th of last year. Standard entry 22 Endosherzo in. But there was no corresponding clock out. Normally, missing clockouts trigger automatic flags after 24 hours. The system sends reminders, escalates to supervisors, eventually locks the employee out until the discrepancy is resolved. But Jacob's entry had been sitting there open for 9 months. I pulled his personnel file. Jacob Merrill, electrical maintenance technician, employed since 2019, solid record. Then abruptly, status changed to leave of absence, November 15th last year. I called HR. What happened with Jacob Merrill? Personal leave, family emergency. He requested an indefinite sabbatical. Did he clock out before leaving? I'd have to check. Why? His time card still open, shows him clocked in since last November. A pause. That's odd. I'll look into it. She never called back. I decided to investigate myself. I pulled the access logs for the day Jacob clocked in. His badge was scanned at Terminal 6, a maintenance workstation located in Sub-Level 2 near the electrical vault. Terminal 6 is rarely used. Most techs prefer the surface-level stations. I checked the activity log for Terminal 6. After Jacob's clock in at 22 go, the terminal showed sporadic activity throughout the night. Work orders accessed, inventory requests logged, system diagnostics run. The last entry was time-stamped, 8:02:37:14 on November 15th. Then nothing. But here's the strange part. Terminal 6 continued logging activity. Not daily, but periodically. Every few weeks an entry appeared, always at 02:37 a.m., showing the same pattern. Work orders accessed, inventory checked, system diagnostics, the user ID on every entry, Lura 4421, Jacob Merrill. I descended to Sub-Level 2 and located Terminal 6. It sat in a dim corner of the maintenance corridor, an outdated desktop unit, monitor coated in dust. I pressed the power button. Nothing. No response. The machine was off. I checked the power cable. Unplugged, disconnected from the wall outlet. Had been for months, judging by the dust accumulation on the plug. But the activity logs continued. Just last week, August 3rd, 02:37 a.m., Terminal 6, user number 444221. I reconnected the power cable. The machine hummed to life. The monitor flickered, displaying the login screen. I entered my supervisor credentials. The desktop loaded. Standard maintenance interface. I opened the activity log locally, stored on the machine itself. The entries matched the central database. Hundreds of them spanning 9 months, all time-stamped at 02:37 a.m., all attributed to Jacob Merrill. But the machine had been unplugged. I scrolled through the logged work orders. Most were routine. Inspect circuit breakers, Vault 12. Replace ventilation filters, Section B7, but some were unusual. Verify structural integrity, Lower Archive. Assess environmental conditions, Restricted Zone. Restricted Zone. That designation had been retired years ago, replaced with more specific sector labels. I pulled up the maintenance directory. The restricted zone referred to an abandoned section of the original network, sealed off in the 1980s due to structural concerns. No current work orders, no active personnel assignments. Yet Jacob's logs referenced it repeatedly. I decided to call him. I retrieved his contact information from HR. The number rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. His voice calm and professional. "This is Jacob. Leave a message." I left one. "Jacob, this is Chief Rawlings. Need to discuss your time card. Call me back." He didn't. That night I stayed late monitoring the system. At 02:36 a.m. I positioned myself at Terminal 6 watching the clock. So 02:37 Sarar. The screen flickered. The login prompt disappeared. The desktop loaded. User number 4421 Jacob Merrill. The cursor moved on its own, opening files, navigating directories. A work order appeared on screen. Inspect relay station, restricted zone, sector 9. The entry logged automatically. Then the screen went dark. I checked the power cable, still connected. The machine was off, but it had just been active. I re-entered my credentials. The desktop reloaded. I reviewed the local drive. The newest entry, August 9th, 02:37 a.m., user number 4421. I opened the work order. Sector 9. I pulled the old blueprints from the archive. Sector 9 was part of the original tunnels, decommissioned in 1983. No electrical service, no maintenance access. The next night, I brought a 2-person crew to Sub-Level 2. We descended to the maintenance corridor and located the sealed access door to the restricted zone. It was chained, padlocked, A faded warning sign, no entry, structural hazard. I cut the chain. We entered. The air was stale, cold. Our flashlights cut through darkness, revealing old concrete, rusted pipes, graffiti from decades past. We followed the corridor for 60 meters until we reached Sector 9. In the center of the space sat another terminal, older than Terminal 6. A CRT monitor, beige casing, covered in grime, and it was on. The screen glowed faintly in the darkness, displaying a login prompt. We approached. The keyboard was dusty but intact. I tried the power button. It didn't respond. The machine was already running. I entered my credentials. Access denied. I tried Jacob's employee number. The system accepted it. The desktop loaded. A single folder on the screen. Shift log. Jacob Merrill. I opened it. Text files. Hundreds of them. Each one a journal entry, dated and time-stamped. I opened the first. November 14th, last year. Clocked in at Terminal 6, assigned to overnight maintenance, sub-level 2. Routine inspections noticed a discrepancy in the electrical vault logs. Usage reported in Sector 9, investigated, found this terminal. It shouldn't be operational, attempting to trace the power source. I opened the next entry. November 15th, 02:37 a.m. Power source unknown. Terminal remains active despite no external connection. Attempting to shut it down manually. System unresponsive. I feel odd, disoriented. I should leave, I should clock out, but I can't find the exit. I scrolled through the entries. Days, weeks, months. I'm still here, I don't know how. I try to leave, but I always end up back at the terminal. I clock in every night at 22. I log my work, I file my reports, but I never clock out. The final entry was dated today, August 9th, so 2:37 a.m. Someone's coming, I can hear footsteps, maybe they'll help, maybe they'll understand, or maybe they'll clock in too. I turned. My crew chief was staring at the screen behind me. Terminal 6's interface remotely accessed. A new entry appeared, August 9th, 02:41 a.m., user Jumra 6678, Chief Rawlings. I hadn't touched the keyboard. The screen flickered, text appeared. Welcome back, we ran. Back through the corridor, up the ladder, sealing the hatch behind us. This morning I checked the time card database. My entry, August 9th, 02:37 a.m., in. No clock out. I try to leave. Every night I try. But at 02:37 a.m. I'm back at the terminal. Some shifts never end. Some systems never let you log out. Story 8. Infrared corridor. The motion sensors tracked someone walking through solid concrete, and the biometric signature matched my heartbeat exactly. I'm a security systems analyst for the Metropolitan Transit Safety Division. My primary responsibility is monitoring the infrared motion detection network, a grid of thermal sensors installed throughout the tunnel system to detect unauthorized access, structural movement, and environmental hazards. The sensors trigger on heat signatures above ambient temperature, logging each event with timestamp, location, and thermal profile. On September 3rd at 01:14 a.m., sensor 47C triggered. Location, Junction Corridor, Sector 12. Thermal profile, human-sized, approximately 70 kilograms, moving at walking pace. Standard alert. I checked the corresponding camera feed. Empty corridor, no visible personnel. False positive. Happens occasionally. Thermal reflections, equipment malfunction. I logged it and continued monitoring. At 01:17 a.m., sensor 48A triggered. Adjacent corridor, same thermal profile, same walking pace. I checked the camera. Empty. At 01:20 a.m., sensor 49D, same signature, moving steadily through the grid. I pulled up the sensor map, overlaying the triggered locations when the pattern was linear. A straight path through the tunnels, sensor after sensor, forming a continuous route. But the route didn't follow any maintenance corridor. It cut through walls, through sealed sections, through areas marked no infrastructure. At 1:23 a.m., sensor 51B triggered. The thermal signature continued its path, now heading toward the central hub. I radioed security. Possible unauthorized access, Sector 12 through 15. Multiple infrared triggers requesting patrol. Copy, dispatching Unit 3. Unit 3 arrived at Sector 12 8 minutes later. They found nothing. No personnel, no signs of entry, but the sensors kept triggering. 1 every 3 minutes. A perfect rhythm. I tracked the pattern for 2 hours. The thermal signature moved through 27 sensors following an impossible route, then vanished at sensor 73F, deep in the maintenance sublevel. I filed a report. Infrared anomaly, possible sensor calibration issue, recommend maintenance review. The next night it happened again. 1:14 a.m., sensor 47C, same thermal profile, same route. I monitored it in real time, watching the sensors light up one by one. This time I focused on the biometric data embedded in the thermal profile. Our sensors are sophisticated. They don't just detect heat, they analyze patterns. Heart rate, respiration, gait rhythm. I pulled the detailed readout for the signature at sensor 47C. Heart rate, 68 BPM. Respiration, 14 breaths per minute. Gait, 1.2 meters per second, standard human metrics. But the system flagged a match in the biometric database. Match confidence, 94%. Identity, analyst Marcus Venn, employee NAR 7834, me. I stared at the screen. The system was claiming the thermal signature was mine, but I was sitting at my desk 3 floors above, monitoring the feed. I checked my own biometrics. Heart rate, 68 BPM. Respiration, 14 breaths per minute, identical. I ran a diagnostic on the sensor network. No faults, no calibration errors, the system was functioning perfectly. At 1:17 a.m., sensor 48A triggered. Biometric match, Marcus Venn, confidence 95%. I stood up, checking my position. I was in the control room. The sensor was 200 meters away underground, but the system insisted I was there. Over the next week, the pattern repeated nightly. Always starting at 1:14 a.m., always the same route, always my biometric signature. I started tracking the route manually, mapping each sensor trigger onto the architectural plans. The path formed a corridor, one that didn't exist on any official blueprint. It started at Sector 12, curved through abandoned sections, descended through sublevels, and terminated at Sector 19 Omega, a designation I'd never seen before. I searched the database for Sector 19 Omega. No records, no maintenance logs, no construction permits. On September 11th, I decided to follow the route physically. I equipped myself with a thermal camera, a flashlight, and a radio. At 1:10 a.m., I descended to Sector 12 and positioned myself at sensor 47C. At 1:14 a.m., the sensor triggered. My thermal camera showed nothing. The corridor was empty, ambient temperature, no heat signatures. But on my monitoring console, accessed remotely via my tablet, the sensor registered a human-sized thermal mass. Right where I was standing. I moved forward, following the route. Sensor 48A. 3 minutes later, I arrived. The sensor triggered as I approached. On my tablet, it showed 2 signatures, one stationary, me, verified by my employee badge, RFID, one moving, also me, biometrically identical. I continued, sensor after sensor. Each time, the moving signature stayed ahead of me, maintaining a 3-minute lead. It was as if I was chasing myself. At 2:03 a.m., I reached the end of the mapped route, sensor 73F, deep in the sublevel. Beyond it, a solid concrete wall. No door, no passage, but the moving signature didn't stop. On my tablet, I watched it pass through the wall, triggering sensors that didn't exist on the map. I examined the wall. Solid. I knocked on it. No hollow spaces, no hidden doors. Yet my thermal signature was on the other side, continuing forward. I returned to the control room, exhausted and confused. I reviewed the footage. The sensors clearly showed two versions of me, one physical, one not. On September 14th, I consulted with a sensor technician. I showed him the data. He frowned, ran diagnostics, checked the hardware. "System's fine," he said. "But this is weird. It's like the sensors are detecting you in two places simultaneously, or detecting an echo." An echo? Thermal memory. Sometimes sensors retain residual heat signatures, but not for this long, and not with this accuracy. That night, I didn't follow the route. I stayed in the control room monitoring. At 01:14 a.m., sensor 47C triggered my biometric signature, moving. But I was stationary. I checked my own vitals. Heart rate 72 BPM, the moving signature 68 BPM, not identical anymore. The signature was desyncing from me. At 01:26 a.m., I felt it, a pressure in my chest. My heart rate spiked, 78 BPM. On the monitor, the moving signature's heart rate increased to 74 BPM. When I calmed down, my heart rate dropped to 68 BPM. The moving signature matched 68 BPM. It was mimicking me. Or I was mimicking it. On September 17th, I followed the route again. This time, I didn't stop at the wall. I searched for another way forward. I found a maintenance hatch 50 meters to the left, leading to a lower sublevel. I descended. The air was colder, the walls older, crumbling concrete. I followed the sensor path as best I could, using my tablet to guide me. At 02:19 a.m. I found it, a corridor, unmarked, unlit. The floor was covered in dust, undisturbed except for a single set of footprints, my boot size. I followed the prints. They led to a small chamber, circular, maybe 3 meters across. In the center, a metal chair, and on the chair, a tablet, identical to mine. I picked it up. The screen was active, displaying the sensor map. A single thermal signature, stationary, labeled Marcus Venn, Sector 19 Omega. I looked at my own tablet. It showed the same, 2 signatures, both me, both in the same location. I turned around. The corridor behind me was gone. Just a solid wall. My heart rate spiked. On both tablets, the signatures' heart rates increased in sync. I tried to leave. Every direction led to the same wall, the same chamber, the same chair. At 02:37 a.m., I sat down. The tablets both logged the event. Signature stationary, status ongoing. I don't know how long I've been here. My watch stopped at 02:41 a.m. My radio doesn't work. But the tablets still update. Every night at 01:14 a.m., a new thermal signature appears at sensor 47C. It follows the route. It reaches sector 19 Omega, and on the monitor it shows Marcus Venn. Biometric match, 94%. Sometimes the sensors don't detect where you are. They detect where you've always been. Story 9. The control room below. The monitors in the hidden control room showed me at my desk, from angles where no cameras exist. I'm a ventilation systems technician for the Underground Transit Environmental Control Division. My work involves maintaining airflow throughout the tunnel network, monitoring duct integrity, replacing filters, calibrating sensors, rerouting air currents when construction blocks standard pathways. It's technical, methodical, occasionally claustrophobic, but rarely surprising. On October 2nd, I received a work order to reroute ventilation flow in Sublevel 3, Section D. A maintenance crew had sealed off Corridor 12 for structural repairs, blocking 2 primary air ducts. My job was to redirect airflow through secondary ducts to maintain pressure balance. I descended to Sublevel 3 with my equipment, airflow meters, duct maps, a tablet for system adjustments. Section D is one of the older areas, concrete walls painted industrial gray, exposed pipes, overhead ducts secured with decades-old brackets. I located the control junction for Corridor 12 and began rerouting the airflow digitally, adjusting dampers and monitoring pressure changes. The system responded normally, but when I checked the physical duct map, I noticed a discrepancy. The digital schematic showed 3 secondary ducts branching from the junction. The physical map printed in 1987 showed 4. I cross-referenced both. The 4th duct, labeled D17S, existed on the old map but was absent from the digital system. Either it had been sealed and deleted from the database, or someone had forgotten to digitize it. I followed the duct visually, tracing its path along the ceiling. It extended down corridor 12, then curved left, disappearing into the wall near an old service door I'd never noticed before. The door was unmarked, painted the same gray as the wall, easy to overlook. No window, no signage, just a handle and a card reader. I swiped my technician badge. The reader blinked red. Access denied. I checked my clearance level. I had sub-level 3 access. This door should have opened. I radioed my supervisor. "Hey, there's a locked door in Section D near Corridor 12. No label." "My badge isn't working." "What's the door number?" I looked around. No number. No identifier. Just a gray door near the D17S duct junction. D17S? That's not on my schematic. It's on the old map, 1987 print. A pause. "Probably a sealed storage room. If your badge doesn't work, it's restricted. Leave it." I should have, but the duct map showed D17S continuing past the door. If I was going to fully reroute airflow, I needed to verify the duct's status. I tried the handle. It turned. The door opened. Beyond was a staircase, descending. Concrete steps, metal railing, a single flickering fluorescent light overhead. The air was cooler here, stale. I descended. 23 steps. At the bottom, another door. This one was ajar. I pushed it open. Inside was a control room. Identical in layout to the primary operations hub where I'd worked dozens of times. Same dimensions, same desk arrangement, same wall-mounted monitor array. 12 screens arranged in a grid, each displaying live camera feeds. But this room wasn't on any blueprint I'd seen, and the equipment was old. CRT monitors, ancient keyboards, cables snaking across the floor. The monitors were active, displaying footage. I stepped closer. The feeds showed familiar locations: the main control room, the maintenance corridor, sub-level 3 hallways. Standard surveillance. But one monitor showed something that stopped me cold. It displayed this room. The room I was standing in. I turned around looking for the camera. No visible lens, no housing, just blank concrete walls. On the monitor, I saw myself turn, looking up at the ceiling, searching. I waved my hand. On the monitor, my reflection waved a second later. A lag, not quite synchronized. I moved to the next monitor. It showed another angle of the same room, from the corner. I looked toward the corner, nothing there. On screen, my reflection looked toward the corner, delayed by a second. Every monitor showed the same room, 12 different angles, some high, some low, some impossibly close, angles where no physical camera could fit. I approached the central desk. On it sat a logbook, old leather cover, pages yellowed. I opened it. The entries were handwritten, dated, meticulous. The first entry, March 3rd, 1986. Primary control room operational, monitoring feeds established, all stations reporting normal function, sub-level monitoring active. I flipped forward, entry after entry, spanning years, 1987, 1990, 1995. The handwriting remained consistent, same person, logging observations, technical notes, maintenance schedules. The final entry, June 14th, 2003. Reflections are desyncing. The monitors show movement I haven't made. Camera angles are shifting. I don't know who's adjusting them. I'm alone down here. I've always been alone. But the feeds insist otherwise. I looked up at the monitors. My reflection stared back from 12 screens, each slightly out of sync. One showed me looking down at the logbook. I wasn't looking down anymore. Another showed me walking toward the door, I was standing still. I backed away from the desk. On the monitors, my reflections didn't follow. They continued their own actions, checking equipment, adjusting controls, sitting at the desk. I turned to leave. The door was closed. I hadn't closed it. I grabbed the handle. Locked. On the monitors, my reflection stood at the door, pulling the handle. But on one screen, the reflection turned around, walked back to the desk, and sat down. I tried the door again. It wouldn't budge. I pulled out my radio. Static. No signal. I looked back at the monitors. All 12 screens now showed the same angle. Me, standing at the door facing the camera. But the perspectives were still different. Some high, some low, some directly in front. Then simultaneously, all 12 cameras zoomed in. Slowly. Focusing on my face. I didn't touch anything. No one else was in the room. But the cameras adjusted themselves, tightening the frame until my face filled every screen. I stepped to the side. The cameras panned, following me. I moved quickly to the left. The feeds tracked me perfectly, smooth and deliberate. Someone was controlling them. But there were no controls on the desk, no joystick, no interface. I shouted, "Who's doing this?" The cameras zoomed out. All 12 screens returned to wide shots of the room, showing me standing in the center. Then on monitor 4, text appeared, white letters on black screen. "Welcome back." I didn't respond. The text remained for 10 seconds, then faded. Monitor 7 displayed new text. "You've been gone a long time." I approached the desk. "I've never been here before." Monitor 3. "You have. June 14th, 2003. You logged the final entry." "That wasn't me. I wasn't even working here in 2003. Monitor 9. "Check your personnel file." I pulled out my tablet, accessed the employee database, opened my file. Employment start date, March 3rd, 1986. Position, control room operator. Sub-level monitoring. My hands shook. I was born in 1991. I couldn't have started working in 1986, but the file showed detailed records, performance reviews, shift logs, decades of service. Monitor 12. "You don't remember because you've been cycling. The room resets. You return. You forget." Cycling? What does that mean? Monitor 5. "You leave. You forget. You come back. The system retains. You don't." I looked at the logbook again. I flipped to the first entry, March 3rd, 1986. The handwriting, I recognized it now. It was mine. I checked my own hand. The way I formed letters, the slant, the spacing, identical. I flipped through the years. My handwriting documenting decades of shifts, observations, anomalies. And at the end, June 14th, 2003. Reflections are desyncing. The monitors show movement I haven't made. I looked up. On the monitors, my reflections moved independently now. One sat at the desk, writing. One stood at the door. One examined the equipment. Monitor 8. "You're desyncing again. The cycle is accelerating. How do I stop it?" Monitor 2. "You can't. The room needs an operator. It always has. You fulfilled that role. You still do." I moved toward the door. On the monitors, one reflection stayed at the desk. Another followed me. I pulled the handle. It opened this time. I ran up the stairs, through the gray door into corridor 12. I didn't stop until I reached the surface. I filed no report. I told no one. But last night I was reviewing ventilation schematics at my desk. My tablet glitched. The screen flickered, displaying a camera feed. The sub-level control room, empty desk, 12 monitors, all active. And on every screen, me, sitting at my desk, looking at the tablet, from 12 impossible angles. I looked around my office, no cameras in those positions. Then on the tablet, text appeared. "Shift starts at midnight." I checked the time. 11:47 p.m. At 11:59 p.m., my tablet opened the employee database. My file updated automatically. Current assignment, Control room operator, sub-level monitoring. Shift, midnight to 8 a.m. Status active. At midnight I stood. I didn't want to, but I stood. I walked to the elevator, descended to sub-level 3, walked to the gray door. It was open. I descended the stairs. The control room waited. The monitors displayed my approach from 12 angles. I sat at the desk. The logbook was open. A new entry pre-written. October 3rd. Shift resumed. Monitoring operational. Reflections stable. I picked up the pen. My hand moved automatically. Adding to the entry. I don't remember leaving, but I'm back now. The cameras are watching. The feeds are stable. I'll remain here until the next cycle. I looked up. On the monitors, 12 versions of me looked back, perfectly synchronized. Some rooms don't let you leave. Some shifts never end, and some operators never stop watching. Story 10. Frequency 19. The signal buried beneath the emergency frequency whispered my badge number 17 times before I realized it was breathing. I'm a communications engineer for the Regional Transit Radio Network, responsible for maintaining the emergency broadcast system used by operations, maintenance, and security personnel across the grid. The system operates on dedicated frequencies isolated from public channels, with redundant repeaters ensuring coverage in the deepest tunnels. On October 22nd, during a routine spectrum analysis, I detected an anomaly on frequency 19, a backup channel reserved for emergency overflow but rarely active. A persistent signal, low amplitude, registering at 3:00 a.m. every night. I pulled the historical data. The signal had been present for 6 weeks, always at the same time, lasting approximately 7 minutes before fading. I isolated the waveform. It wasn't voice traffic, not data, just static, soft, rhythmic, almost like white noise, but embedded within it faint audio artifacts. I applied a bandpass filter to isolate the artifacts. Breathing. Slow, steady inhalations and exhalations, barely audible beneath the static. I checked the repeater logs for frequency 19. The signal originated from repeater 7, located in the southern tunnels, decommissioned in 2019 after a newer unit replaced it. According to the database, repeater 7 had been powered down, its antenna disconnected, but it was transmitting. I radioed maintenance. Need a status check on repeater 7 showing unexpected activity. Repeater 7's offline. Has been for 4 years. I'm receiving a signal from it. Active broadcast, frequency 19. That's not possible. The unit's disconnected. I needed to see it myself. I logged a site visit and descended to the southern tunnels at 2:30 a.m. on October 23rd. Repeater 7 was located in a maintenance alcove 60 meters below street level. The unit was old, installed in 2004, a metal enclosure bolted to the wall, antenna cable dangling loose. The power line was severed, the status light dark. I checked my spectrum analyzer. At 2:47 a.m., frequency 19 was silent. I waited. At 3 a.m., the signal appeared. The analyzer spiked. Frequency 19 active broadcast originating from this location. But the repeater was off. No power, no lights. I opened the enclosure. Inside, the circuit boards were corroded, capacitors swollen, the internal battery long dead. This unit couldn't transmit, yet my analyzer insisted it was. I connected a portable receiver tuning to frequency 19. The static filled my headphones, and beneath it, the breathing. I recorded it, brought the file back to my lab, and analyzed it frame by frame. The breathing pattern was regular, 4.2 seconds per cycle. Inhalation, exhalation, pause. Repeated for 7 minutes, but there was something else. Between breaths, faint vocalizations. Not words, just soft sounds like whispers too quiet to parse. I amplified them. Enhanced the clarity, slowed the playback to half speed. The whispers resolved into speech. 7, 3, 8, 2. A number. Repeated, over and over, 7382. I checked my badge. Employee ID, 7382, my badge number. I listened again, focusing on the full 7-minute recording. The number repeated 17 times, interspersed with the breathing. I checked the personnel database. No other employee with that ID. Just me. I returned to Repeater 7 the next night, equipped with a handheld radio and a digital recorder. At 3 a.m., I transmitted on frequency 19. This is Engineer Lawson, badge 7382. Identify yourself. The static continued, the breathing. Then faintly, 7382. Who are you? No response. Just the whisper repeating my badge number. I traced the repeater's installation records. Repeater 7 was installed in September 2004 by Daniel Cross, a comms technician. I pulled his personnel file. Employment start, 2001. Employment end, November 7th, 2004. Status, deceased, on-site accident. Daniel Cross died 2 months after installing Repeater 7. Cause, electrocution during maintenance. His body was found in the alcove where the repeater was housed. Badge number 7381. 1 digit away from mine. I dug deeper. Daniel's final work order, dated November 6, 2004, referenced a signal issue on frequency 19. His notes: unexplained transmission detected, investigating source. Repeater 7 operational but receiving phantom signal, unable to trace origin. The next day, he was dead. I reviewed the accident report. Daniel had been working alone, performing a voltage test on Repeater 7 when he was electrocuted. The report cited equipment failure, an internal short caused by corroded wiring. But there was an addendum filed by the investigating supervisor. Victim's radio found tuned to frequency 19, recording device active. Audio file recovered but deemed non-evidentiary, archived. I accessed the archive. The audio file was still there. Cross Daniel 1110704 WEV. I downloaded it, played it. Static, breathing, and beneath it a whisper. 7381. Daniel's badge number. I listened to the full recording. 7 minutes. The whisper repeated his number 17 times. At the end of the file, Daniel's voice strained. This is Cross. I'm at Repeater 7, the signal, and it's not coming from the equipment. It's coming from the walls. I can hear it breathing. Then the audio cut out. I sat there, staring at the waveform. The pattern was identical to the signal I'd recorded. Same rhythm, same breathing, same cadence. Daniel had heard it 20 years ago. Now I was hearing it, and it was whispering my badge number. That night I returned to Repeater 7. I brought bolt cutters, intending to sever the antenna cable completely, ensuring no signal could transmit. At 2:55 a.m. I cut the cable. The antenna fell, clattering against the concrete. At 3 a.m. the signal resumed. My analyzer confirmed. Frequency 19, active broadcast, originating from this location, but there was no antenna, no transmission path. I tuned my radio, the static, the breathing, and then, clearer than before, 7, 3, 8, 2. You're here. You're listening. Continue. I backed away. The voice grew louder, no longer a whisper. 7, 3, 8, 2. Daniel listened. Daniel understood. You will too. I ran. Back through the tunnel up to the surface. I filed a report. Frequency 19 interference. Recommend decommissioning channel. Source unknown. The request was approved. Frequency 19 was officially retired, removed from active service. But last night at 3 a.m. my personal radio, sitting on my desk, powered off. Activated. Static. Breathing. 7, 3, 8, 2. I checked the frequency display. Frequency 19. I tried to power it down. The radio wouldn't respond. The voice continued. You'll return. You'll investigate. You'll understand. The signal doesn't stop. It just waits for the next listener. At 3:07 a.m. the radio went silent. This morning I checked my work orders, a new assignment. Investigate signal anomaly repeater 7 assigned to Engineer Lawson, badge Durver 7382. I didn't file that order. I don't know who did. But tonight at 2:30 a.m. I'll descend to the southern tunnels. I'll stand in the alcove where Daniel Cross died. And at 3 a.m. I'll listen. Because some signals don't transmit, they call. And once they know your number, they never stop calling. Story 11. Sub-level auth denied. My clearance level changed to sub-level auth, a tier that doesn't exist in any database I can access, except now it's the only place my keycard works. I'm a systems administrator for the Transit Operations Security Database, managing user access, clearance levels, and data permissions for over 4,000 employees across the network. My role involves creating user accounts, assigning clearance tiers, auditing access logs, and troubleshooting authentication issues. On November 1st, while reviewing the clearance hierarchy for a routine audit, I noticed an anomaly. The standard tiers are clearly defined. Level 1, Public Visitor. Level 2, General Staff. Level 3, Operations Personnel. Level 4, Supervisors. Level 5, Management. Level 6, Executive. But below Level 6, a new tier had appeared, Level 7, Sub-Level Auth. I didn't recognize it. I checked the clearance creation logs. No entry for Level 7, no authorization, no timestamp. It simply existed. I queried the database for employees assigned to Level 7, 0 results. The tier was empty. I tried to access its parameters, clearance scope, restricted areas, authorization protocols. The system returned an error. Access denied, insufficient clearance. I held Level 6 clearance. I had access to every tier, every database, every restricted file in the system. But I couldn't access Level 7. I flagged it for my director. Found an unauthorized clearance tier in the database. Level 7 labeled Sub-Level Auth. No creation record, no assigned personnel. Probably a legacy entry. Old system migration artifact. Delete it. I tried. The system wouldn't allow it. Operation restricted. Tier protected. Over the next week I investigated. I traced database changes, reviewed migration logs, consulted with the original system architects. No one knew about Level 7. On November 8th, something changed. I logged into the system and ran my standard access audit. My own employee file appeared in the results. Normal. Except for one detail. My clearance level had changed. From Level 6 management to Level 7 sub-level auth. I didn't authorize the change. No one did. The modification log showed no entry. I tried to revert it. Access denied. Self-modification restricted. I contacted my director. My clearance changed to Level 7. I need it reverted. Level 7 doesn't exist. It does. It's in the database. I'm assigned to it now. I'm looking at your file. Shows Level 6. Check again. It's Level 7. He checked. System shows Level 6. You sure you're not seeing a display glitch? I took a screenshot. My file. Clearance Level 7, sub-level auth. But when I sent it to him, the image showed Level 6. The system was displaying different information to different users. That afternoon, I tested my keycard. I approached a Level 6 restricted door. Executive conference room, surface level. I swiped my card. Access denied. I tried a Level 5 door. Denied. Level 4 denied. Every door on the surface level rejected my card. I descended to sub-level 1, maintenance offices, operations control. I tried a Level 3 door. Access denied. I continued down. Sub-level 2. Same result. Sub-level 3 denied. At sub-level 4, I found a door I'd never noticed before. No label, no number. Just a card reader. I swiped my card. Access granted. The lock clicked. The door opened. Beyond was a staircase descending into darkness. I hesitated, then descended. At the bottom, another door, another reader. I swiped my card. Access granted, sublevel auth verified. The door opened into a corridor, concrete, dimly lit, lined with doors marked with alphanumeric codes, SLA1, SLA2, SLA3. I tried the first door. Locked. I swiped my card. Access granted. Inside was a small room, empty except for a desk, a terminal, and a filing cabinet. I approached the terminal. It was active, so displaying a login prompt. I entered my credentials. Welcome, Sublevel Auth Administrator. The interface was unfamiliar. Older design, text-based, no graphical elements. A menu appeared. Personnel records, Sublevel Auth facility maps, Sublevel infrastructure access logs, restricted zone system maintenance, core database. I selected personnel records. A list appeared. 13 names. I recognized none of them. Employees assigned to level 7, all with sublevel auth clearance. I selected the first name. Harrison David, employee number 4411. His file loaded. Standard information. Employment start date, position, clearance assignments. But the employment end date was blank. Status, active. Assigned sublevel operations. I searched for David Harrison in the main database. No results. He didn't exist in the primary system. I checked the next name. Same result. All 13 employees existed only in this sublevel database. I selected facility maps. A grid appeared. Architectural layouts of sublevel areas. But the maps didn't match the official blueprints. They showed corridors, rooms, entire sections that weren't on any surface-level schematic. I zoomed into the map. My current location was labeled Sublevel 4 Administration Block. Below it, more levels, Sublevel 5, 6, 7. The map extended to Sublevel 12. I selected Access Logs. A timeline appeared listing keycard swipes in sublevel zones. The most recent entries, November 9th, 1437, employee, Darmrate 844, sublevel 6 corridor. November 9th, 1441, employee, Darmrate 844, sublevel 4, Sen. Administration block, November 9th, 1452, employee, Darmrate 844, SLA1 terminal access. Employee, Darmrate 844, that was me. I was looking at my own access log. The system had been tracking me since I entered. I exited the terminal and left the room. In the corridor, I tried another door, SLA7. My card granted access. Inside was identical to SLA1. Same desk, same terminal, same login prompt. I moved through the corridor, trying each door. They were all the same. Empty rooms, active terminals, all logged under sublevel auth. At the end of the corridor, a final door. Larger, labeled Core Access, Sublevel 5. I swiped my card. Access granted. Descending clearance verified. The door opened to another staircase. Descending. I followed it. Sublevel 5 was colder, quieter. The lighting dimmer. The corridor stretched forward, lined with more doors, more alphanumeric codes. I tried one, locked. My card didn't work. I tried another. Same result. Then I found one labeled SLE1, Employee Archives. My card worked. Inside was a filing room. Metal cabinets lined the walls, each labeled with employee numbers. I found mine, 18844. I opened it. Inside, files. My personnel records, but different. Employment start date, October 14th, 2019. Position, Sublevel Systems Administrator. Assigned duties. Maintain sublevel database integrity, monitor access logs, ensure sublevel personnel compliance. I didn't remember any of this. I'd never worked in sublevel operations, but the file was detailed. Performance reviews, shift logs, years of documentation. At the bottom of the cabinet, a sealed envelope, addressed to me. I opened it. Inside, a handwritten note. You're cycling again. You forget every time you surface. The system moves you between levels to maintain operations. You've been here for 3 years. You'll be here until reassignment. Don't try to leave. Your clearance only works downward now. I left the room. I walked back to the staircase. I tried to ascend. At the sub-level 4 door, I swiped my card. Access denied, clearance insufficient for upward movement. I tried again, same result. I descended to sub-level 5, my card worked. I tried sub-level 6, access granted, sub-level 7 granted. I descended 12 levels. Each one identical, corridors, rooms, terminals, all empty, all waiting. At sub-level 12, I found a door labeled Terminus, sub-level Auth Core. I swiped my card. Access granted. Welcome back. Inside was a control room. Monitors lined the walls, displaying access logs, personnel files, facility maps. In the center, a desk. On it, a nameplate. Administrator 844, my number. I sat down. The terminal activated automatically, resuming shift. Sub-level operations. A work queue appeared, tasks assigned to me, audit access logs, update personnel files, maintain system integrity. I tried to log out. The system wouldn't allow it. Shift incomplete. Please continue. I looked at the monitors. One displayed the surface-level control room, my old desk. Someone else sat there now, working at my terminal. Another monitor showed sub-level 4, the corridor I'd walked through. Empty now. A third monitor showed this room, me sitting at the desk staring at the screens. I don't remember coming here 3 years ago, but the system insists I've been here all along. Tonight I'll complete my shift. I'll update the logs, maintain the database, monitor the sub-levels, because my clearance only works downward now. And the deeper you descend, the harder it is to remember the surface. Some tiers don't elevate, they bury. Story 12. The recorder's loop. The crash footage changed every time I watched it. 3 survivors, then 2, then none, until I realized the recordings were syncing to my memory, not the truth. I've been a rail dispatcher for the Metropolitan Transit Authority for 17 years. My role is coordination, managing train movements, issuing clearances, responding to emergencies. When incidents occur, I'm often the first voice operators here and the last line of defense against catastrophe. On November 14th, I was summoned to testify at an incident tribunal reviewing a collision that occurred 6 months prior on the Blue Line. Train 308 rear-ended Train 291 at low speed in a tunnel section, resulting in injuries and significant equipment damage. The tribunal needed my testimony regarding radio communications leading up to the collision. I was provided with the official incident recording, my radio transmissions, timestamps, and corresponding video footage from the train's onboard cameras. I was instructed to review the material and prepare a statement. I took the files home, loaded them onto my personal laptop, and began the review. The recording started at 22:14:03. My voice calm and procedural. Control to Train 308, reduce speed to 15, prepare for hold at signal 47. Train 308, Operator Miles, copy control, reducing to 15. Standard exchange. I watched the onboard camera footage from Train 308. The operator's hands adjusted the throttle. The speedometer dropped. 35, 28, 21. At 22:16, 41. My voice again. Control to Train 308, hold at signal 47, Train 291 ahead clearing. Train 308, holding at 47, but the footage showed the train still moving. Speed, 18 mep, signal 47 passed. Train 308 didn't stop. At 22:17:12, impact. The camera jolted. Screech of metal, the feed cut to black. I paused the video. I remembered this incident clearly. Operator Miles had acknowledged the hold order but failed to stop. The investigation concluded he'd been distracted, fatigued, missed the signal. 3 passengers injured, Miles suspended. I replayed the footage. Same sequence, my voice issuing the hold order. Train 308 acknowledging but not stopping. Except this time the outcome was different. At 22:17:12, the camera jolted, but less violently. The train slowed, stopped. No collision. The feed continued, the operator checking instruments, the passengers seated unharmed. I stopped the playback. That wasn't right. There had been a collision. 3 injuries. I was certain. I checked the tribunal files. The official summary. Collision occurred at 22:17:12. 3 passengers injured. Operator Miles at fault. But the footage I'd just watched showed no collision. I replayed it again. This time, at 22:17:12, impact violent. The camera feed died immediately. Same timestamp, different outcome. I replayed it a 4th time. No collision. The train stopped safely. 5th time. Collision. But now the summary report on my laptop updated. 2 passengers injured. Not 3. 2. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. I checked the physical copy of the incident report I'd been given. It still read, 3 passengers injured. I reopened the laptop. The digital file now read, 2 passengers injured. I replayed the footage. Collision, impact. But this time the camera feed resumed after 3 seconds. Passengers disoriented but standing. Only 2 visible injuries. I stopped the playback. I was losing track of the event. My memory was fragmenting. Had there been 3 injuries? 2? Was there even a collision? I decided to rely on the recording itself, not my memory. 6th replay, collision, 1 injury. 7th replay, collision, no injuries. Passengers shaken but unharmed. 8th replay, no collision. Train 308 stopped at signal 47 as instructed. The footage was changing, not corrupted, cleanly edited as if each version was the original. I checked the file metadata, no modification history. Creation date, November 14th today. File size, identical across all replays. But the content was different every time. I called the tribunal coordinator. I'm reviewing the incident footage. There's a problem. The recording is inconsistent. Inconsistent how? The outcome changes. Sometimes there's a collision, sometimes not. The injury count varies. A pause. The footage is locked. It can't be altered. Are you sure you're viewing the correct file? I'm certain, but every replay is different. That's not possible. The file is archived, read-only. It's been reviewed by 3 independent analysts. All confirmed the same sequence. What sequence did they confirm? Collision at 22:17:12. 3 injuries, operator error? That's what I thought. But the footage I'm seeing doesn't match. I'll send you a fresh copy. Stand by. He sent it. I downloaded the new file, deleted the old one, played the fresh copy. No collision. Train 308 stopped safely. 0 injuries. I called him back. The new file shows no collision. That's impossible. I'm looking at the same file right now. It clearly shows the collision. Can you send me a screen recording of what you're seeing? He did. I watched his screen recording. Collision, impact, 3 injuries, exactly as described in the report, but on my laptop, the same file. No collision. I realized something. The footage wasn't changing randomly. It was responding to my memory. I tested it. I replayed the footage while actively trying to remember 3 injuries. The video showed 3 injuries. I replayed it while trying to remember 0 injuries. The video showed no collision. The recording was syncing to my recollection, not to objective truth. I stopped trying to remember. I watched the footage without preconception, letting it play. At 22:16:41, my voice. Control to train 308, hold at signal 47. But this time I didn't recognize my voice. It sounded like me. Same cadence, same tone, but unfamiliar. Like hearing a recording of yourself and not quite believing it's you. The train didn't stop. Collision at 22:17:12, 3 injuries. The footage stabilized. I replayed it 10 times. Same outcome. Consistent. As long as I didn't recognize my own voice, the footage remained stable. But the moment I thought that's me speaking, the footage shifted again. I spent 3 days reviewing the material. The pattern held. The recording changed based on my perception of my involvement. When I remembered issuing the hold order, the footage showed the operator ignoring it. When I doubted my memory, the footage showed the operator complying. I began to question the incident itself. Had I issued the hold order? Had I been on duty that night? I checked the dispatch logs. My shift, 22 to 06 hours, I was scheduled. The log showed my radio transmissions, but I didn't remember them. I didn't remember that night at all. I contacted Operator Miles, the driver blamed for the collision. He answered on the 3rd ring. "This is Dispatcher Hale. I'm reviewing the Blue Line incident from 6 months ago. Do you remember it?" A long pause. "I remember testifying. I remember being blamed. But I don't remember the collision itself." "You don't remember it?" "I remember my shift. I remember getting the hold order. I remember stopping at Signal 47. The next thing I remember is sitting in the tribunal being told I didn't stop." "But you did stop?" "I think I did, but the footage says I didn't. So maybe I'm wrong." I asked him to watch the footage and tell me what he saw. I sent him the file. He called back 20 minutes later. "I see myself stopping. No collision. The official record says you didn't stop. Collision. 3 injuries." "I know, but I'm watching it right now. I'm stopped. No collision." The footage was personalizing, showing each viewer a version aligned with their memory. I requested access to the original archive, the raw, unprocessed footage stored on the Transit Authority's secure server. I needed the objective truth. Access was denied. Footage classified pending tribunal conclusion. I attended the tribunal hearing. They played the footage for the panel. I watched from the gallery. On the screen, collision, impact, 3 injuries, clear, consistent damning. The panel questioned me. "Dispatcher Hale, did you issue a hold order to Train 308? "I believe I did." "You believe?" "The recording indicates I did, but I don't have an independent memory of that night." "You don't remember?" "No." They consulted among themselves. Then, "The recording clearly shows your voice issuing the order. Do you dispute the recording's authenticity?" "I don't dispute it, but I can't confirm it either." They moved on. Operator Miles was found at fault, suspended for 6 months. That night I reviewed the footage again, alone, no preconceptions. At 22:16:41, my voice. "Control to Train 308, hold at Signal 47. Except this time I heard something beneath my words. A second voice, overlapping mine, faint. Distorted. I isolated the audio, amplified it. The second voice wasn't saying, "Hold at Signal 47, it was saying, "Proceed through Signal 47. 2 instructions, simultaneously. One telling the operator to stop, one telling him to go. I listened again. Both voices were mine. I checked my medical records. No history of dissociation, no psychological flags. But I found something else. 6 months ago, the night of the incident, I'd logged a personal note in my shift journal. Audio feedback on Channel 3, hearing my own transmissions echo back. Thought I was issuing duplicate orders, reported to maintenance. Maintenance had found no fault. Equipment functioning normally. But I'd heard an echo, my voice overlapping itself, issuing conflicting instructions, and the recording had captured both. Last week I requested reassignment. Away from dispatch, away from the radios, request denied. Critical personnel, no transfer available. 2 nights ago I was on shift. At 22:16, I issued a hold order to Train 412. I heard my voice on the radio, and beneath it another version of my voice saying the opposite. The operator responded, "I'll copy, control, holding." But on the camera feed, Train 412 kept moving. I don't know which instruction they're hearing. I don't know which one I'm actually giving. The footage will show whatever I remember, and I don't trust my memory anymore. Some recordings don't capture truth, they capture perception. And once your voice splits, you never know which one is real. Story 13, Static on Line 5. The station that appeared in the static feed wasn't on any map until I reported it, and the system added it to tomorrow's schedule. I'm an intern with the Transit Monitoring Operations Department 3 weeks into a 6-month program. My duties are basic: monitor camera feeds, log anomalies, escalate issues to full-time staff. I work the overnight shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., watching 12 monitors displaying various stations and tunnel sections. Monitor 5, assigned to Line 5, Sector 9, has shown nothing but static since I started. I mentioned it to my supervisor during my second shift. Monitor 5's not working, just static. Yeah, that camera's been dead for a while. Maintenance keeps putting it off, just ignore it. So I did. For 2 weeks, Monitor 5 sat in the top right corner of the array, displaying gray-white static, occasionally flickering. On November 17th at 2:34 a.m., I noticed something different. The static wasn't uniform. There were patterns, darker areas, lighter areas, shifting slowly. I adjusted the brightness and contrast. The patterns became clearer, shapes, movement. I increased the gain. The static thinned. Beneath it, faint but visible, a platform. Empty, dimly lit. Old tile, chipped and stained. A single bench. No passengers. I checked the camera label, Line 5, Sector 9, Camera 18. I pulled up the system map. Camera 18 was supposed to cover the maintenance junction between Hadley and Riverside stations. A tunnel section, not a platform. But the feed showed a platform. I zoomed in digitally. The image degraded, but I could make out details. Old advertisements on the walls, faded and peeling. A sign partially obscured. Field Station. I didn't recognize it. I checked the station directory. No. Field Station on Line 5. At 2:41 a.m. movement, a shadow passed across the platform. Blurry, indistinct, but human-shaped. I adjusted the gain further. The static cleared slightly. The shadow resolved into a figure, someone walking slowly across the platform, head down, shoulders hunched. They reached the far edge of the frame and disappeared. I rewound the feed, but it was live, no rewind function. I started recording. At 2:53 a.m., another figure. This one stood near the bench, motionless, facing away from the camera. At 3:07 a.m., 3 figures walking together, silent, moving from left to right across the platform. None of them looked at the camera, none of them waited for a train. At 3:22 a.m., the static thickened, the image degraded. By 3:30 a.m., Monitor 5 was back to full static. I saved the recording and flagged it for my supervisor. Monitor 5 showed activity, possible unauthorized access. He reviewed it the next night. I don't see anything, just static. I recorded it. There were people on a platform. What platform? Camera 18 covers a tunnel junction. No platform there. I know, but the feed showed one. He replayed my recording. Static. No platform. No figures. You sure you weren't seeing patterns? Pareidolia? I'm certain. I recorded it. Well, the file shows static. Maybe get some sleep. Overnight shifts mess with your head. I didn't argue, but I knew what I'd seen. The next night, I watched Monitor 5 closely. At 2:34 a.m., the static shifted again. I didn't adjust the settings this time, I just watched. The platform appeared, clearer now, the sign fully visible. Hatfield Station. Hatfield Station. I searched the database. No results. I searched historical records. One entry, Hatfield Station, Line 5, opened 1951, closed 1973, demolished 1975. The station had been demolished 48 years ago, but the feed showed it intact. Old, decaying but standing. At 2:46 a.m., figures appeared. More than before, a dozen, maybe more, scattered across the platform, standing, waiting. One of them looked up directly at the camera. I froze. The figure's face was obscured by static, but I felt them watching me. At 3:15 a.m., the static returned. The platform vanished. I filed a detailed report. Monitor 5 displaying footage of Hatfield Station, demolished 1975, multiple figures observed. Possible archival footage bleed through. My supervisor escalated it to engineering. They reviewed the camera's technical status. Camera 18 is offline. Has been for 6 months. Transmitting dead signal, no video data. But I'm seeing video. You're seeing static. The system confirms no active feed. I requested physical inspection of camera 18. A crew was dispatched. They returned the next day. Camera's gone. Torn down during a renovation 2 years ago. No hardware at that location. Then what am I seeing? Nothing. The feed's dead. But that night, Monitor 5 showed the platform again. And this time I saw something else. A train. Pulling into Hatfield Station. Old design. 1950s model. Faded paint. It stopped at the platform. The doors opened. The figures boarded. One by one, stepping into the cars. Silent. Methodical. The doors closed. The train pulled away. At 3:30 a.m., the static returned. I checked the live train schedule. No trains scheduled on Line 5 between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Maintenance window, but I'd just watched one. This morning, I logged in to file my nightly report. The system interface had changed. The station directory now included a new entry. Hatfield Station, Line 5, Sector 9, status active. I checked the schedule. Starting tomorrow, Line 5 trains would stop at Hatfield Station. 2:47 a.m. every night. I called my supervisor. Hatfield Station's on the schedule now. Yeah, they reactivated it. Renovation complete, opens tomorrow. Renovation? It was demolished in 1975. I don't know what you're talking about. Hatfield's been closed for maintenance, but it's reopening. I pulled the historical records. They'd changed. Hatfield Station, Line 5. Opened 1951, closed 2022 for renovation, reopening November 18th. No mention of demolition. No mention of closure in 1973. The system had rewritten itself. Tonight at 2:47 a.m., the first train will stop at Hatfield Station, passengers will board, and Monitor 5 will show it clearly now. No static, because the station exists again. The system says so. I don't know if I created it by observing it or if it was always there waiting to be seen. But tomorrow I'll take Line 5, I'll ride to Hatfield Station, and I'll see if the passengers look familiar. Some places don't stay gone. They just wait in the static until someone notices. Story 14. Archive 13. Unauthorized playback. The archived footage from next month shows me at this desk, older and terrified, mouthing a warning I can't hear yet. I'm a digital archivist for the Transit Operations Historical Data Division. My role involves restoring, cataloging, and preserving decades of operational records, camera footage, radio logs, maintenance reports, incident archives. Most of the material is mundane: routine surveillance, procedural documentation, administrative records. On December 1st, I was assigned a restoration project for Archive Block 13, a collection of data files from the 1990s, stored on obsolete magnetic tape, never digitized. My task: transfer the files to modern servers, verify integrity, catalog contents. I began with tape 13001, standard footage, platform surveillance, grainy and washed out, Timestamps from 1994. I processed it, logged it, moved to the next tape. Tape 130113 was different. I loaded it into the transfer station. The file metadata displayed tape 130113. Archive footage December 31st. No year, just December 31st. I initiated playback. The footage loaded. But it wasn't from 1994. The video showed a modern workstation. My workstation. Same desk, same monitors, same layout. And sitting at the desk, me. Older, maybe 10 years. Hair graying. Face lined. Wearing the same clothes I had on today. I paused the playback. This had to be mislabeled. Maybe a recent file accidentally mixed into the archive. I checked the tape's physical label, handwritten. 130113 playback authorized you. You. Not a name, not a designation. Just you. I resumed playback. The older version of me sat at the desk, staring at the monitors. He looked exhausted, disturbed. His hands trembled as he typed. Then he turned toward the camera, toward me, and spoke. His lips moved, forming words, but there was no audio. The footage was silent. He gestured frantically, pointing at the screen, at the camera, mouthing something urgent. I tried to read his lips. I couldn't make it out. He stood, moved closer to the camera. His face filled the frame, eyes wide, desperate. He mouthed one word slowly, clearly. Stop. Then the footage cut to black. I checked the timestamp. December 31st, 23:47-18. Today was December 1st. The footage was dated 30 days in the future. I tried to rationalize it. Mislabeling. A prank. Someone had edited recent footage of me and planted it in the archive. But the tape was old. Genuine magnetic tape from the 90s. The casing was worn. The label faded. It couldn't have been created recently. I made a copy of the file and flagged it for review. Then I moved on to the next tape. Over the following days, I processed the remaining tapes in Block 13. All standard archival material, except for one more, tape 13027. Metadata, December 15th, 2 weeks from now. I loaded it, same workstation, same older version of me, but he looked worse, more haggard, more frightened. He sat at the desk, head in his hands. Then he looked up directly at the camera and mouthed words. This time I caught fragments. Don't finish, archive. The footage lasted 90 seconds, then cut out. I checked the remaining tapes. 2 more were dated in the future. Tape 13039, December 22nd. Tape 13051, December 28th. I loaded them in order. December 22nd, the older me pacing the room, agitated, gesturing at the monitors, mouthing, "They're watching. Don't let them." December 28th, the older me slumped at the desk, motionless, just sitting, staring blankly ahead. No movement, no words. I stopped processing. I needed to understand what this was. I consulted with the archive supervisor. I found footage dated in the future, it shows me, at this desk. Dated in the future? That's impossible. I know, but it's there. December 15th, 22nd, 28th, 31st. The tapes are from the 90s. They can't show future events. I'm telling you what I saw. Did you verify the playback equipment? Maybe there's a timestamp glitch. I verified it. No glitch. The tapes were authentic. The timestamps were clear. It's probably old footage someone edited as a joke, he said. Ignore it and finish the restoration. But I couldn't ignore it, because every day the timestamps got closer. On December 3rd, a new tape appeared in the archive. It wasn't part of the original Block 13 inventory. Someone or something had added it. Labeled tape 13063, December 5th, final warning. December 5th was 2 days away. I loaded it, same workstation, older me, but this time he wasn't alone. Shadows moved in the background, figures indistinct standing behind him, watching. The older me looked at the camera, mouthed, "Stop processing, stop now." Then one of the shadows moved closer. The older me turned, startled. The footage cut out. On December 5th, I arrived at work and found the playback equipment already running. Tape 13063 was loaded. On-screen live footage, not archived. Real time. Me, at the desk, right now. I looked at the camera mounted above my workstation. It was off, disconnected, but the monitor showed me. Live. I moved my hand. The figure on screen moved identically, no lag. Then the footage shifted, fast-forwarded. The timestamp jumped. 1437, 1622, 1951. At 2347, the footage stopped. The older me appeared on screen. Same scene as tape 13 and 013. He looked at the camera, mouthed, "Stop." Then the screen went black. I checked the system clock. 10:14 a.m. The footage had shown me 13 hours into the future. I decided to test it. At 14:37, I would do something unpredictable. I would leave the building. The footage showed me at the desk at 14:37. If I wasn't there, the footage would be wrong. At 14:35, I stood to leave, but my phone rang. My supervisor. "Need you to finish tape 13051 today. Priority request from management." "I'm taking a break." "This can't wait. Finish it now." I sat back down. At 14:37, I was at the desk, processing tape 13051. Exactly as the footage had shown. I tried to leave again at 1622. Another call, another urgent task. I stayed.